आरती यमुना निकट तट स्थित वृंदावन काल के महारम्ये कल्पद्रुमतल भूमौ चरणं चरणो परिस्थाप्य तिष्ठन्तं घननीलम् स्वतेजसा भासयन्तमिह विश्वम् पीताम्बरपरिधानम् चन्दनकर्पूरनिर्वाणम् कर्णपूर्णनेत्रम् कुण्डलयुगमण्डितश्रवणम् मन्दस्मितमुखकमलम् सकौस्तुभोहारमणिहारम् वलयाङ्गुलीयकाव्या नुज्ज्वलयन्तं स्वलङ्काराः गलविलुलितवनमालम् स्वतेजसा पास्त्रिकणिकालम् गुञ्जायमालिकलितम् गुञ्जान्विते शिरसि गुञ्जानं सर्वतोमुखै गुञ्जान्तर्वर्तिनं नमत मन्दारपुष्पवासिक मन्दारसेवित परानन्दम् मन्दारपदम् नमत महानन्दम् महापुरुषम् सुरभिकृतदिग्मलयम् सुरभिशतैरावृतः परितः सुरभिक्षपणमः सुरभिमं यादवं नमत। वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की, श्री रासेश्वरी राधा रानी की, जगत गुरु श्री कृपालु जी महाराज की, श्री राधा गोविंद धाम की जय जय। श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे।
गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म श्री गुरुवे नमः। वसुदेवं सुतं देवं कौंतेयचारि देवकी पद्मानन्दं कृष्णं कस्तूरीतिलकं ललाटपटलं वक्षस्थले कौस्तुभं नासारे धर्मौतिकं परतले वेणुकदैकं तं सर्वाङ्गी हरिचन्दनं सुभजितं वन्दे अस्ति परिविष्टितो विजयते गोपालचन्द्रां
बोलो सियावर रामचंद्र की। Radhe Radhe to everyone. So we'll be continuing with the Ram Katha where we left off towards the end of Ayodhya Kand. Yesterday, you heard about how Bharatji was sent for by Sage Vashisht, and he and Shatrughna returned to Ayodhya, and they got the news that King Dashrath had left his body. After that, he performed Dashrath Ji's last rites and decided, with the permission of Guruji, Sage Vashisht, to make one attempt to go to where Sri Ram was and ask him to become the king and to return to Ayodhya. So he set out with all the materials necessary for Sri Ram's coronation. And as he set out, all the citizens of Ayodhya decided to accompany him. So he went with a huge retinue, looked like a big army. And you heard how he crossed Ganga with the help of the Nishad, and eventually found his way to Chitrakoot, where Sri Ram was. And as they were approaching, there was some few minutes of confusion, as it looked like he was approaching with an army. And especially Lakshman was unsure of his intentions and was ready to go and confront him. But Ram and Sita calmed him down and said, no, it's not possible that Bharat would be coming here with any kind of negative intentions. He is the purest devotee of Ram. So eventually Bharat and Ram met. And Bharat, being a servant of Ram, a devotee of Ram, brother of Ram, he bore his heart to him and said, this is all my fault. How I understand if you can never forgive me. And Ram said, none of this is your fault. This is the way things were planned. Of course, since Ram is behaving the part of an ordinary man, they keep referring to fate. Oh, it's in our destiny. Whatever's in a person's destiny is inescapable. Even Sage Vashisht had admonished Bharat before he left Ayodhya when they were talking, and Bharat was saying what a horrible thing this is. And Vashishtha just said, Hani labh jivan maran yash apayash vidhi hath. Although God has no destiny, he has no prarabdha, but he's playing the part of an ordinary man, and he's setting the example for us that, look, even I am subject to my destiny. Although in his case, it's all part of his pre-planned Leela, and it happens according to his will. But he's playing the part of an ordinary person. So he says, you know what? No one can escape their destiny. The destiny is the result of your own past good and bad actions from previous lifetimes. So as Vashishtha Ji just told Bharat, Hani and Labh, loss and gain, whether it be financial loss and gain, or the loss or gain of status, the loss or gain of power, Jivan Maran, the situation into which you're born, the time at which you're born, and the time at which you will die. This is also controlled by destiny. And yash apayash, fame and infamy, popularity or unpopularity. These things are, in fact, the outcome of your own past actions. And they can't be circumvented by any means. So if they're bound to happen, they're bound to happen. In other words, if Ram was bound to go to the forest, he's bound to go to the forest. It makes no difference that you are Kaikeyi's son and she seemed to be the direct cause of it, and she did it all in your name. Nonetheless, if it was meant to happen, it was meant to happen. This is the actual philosophy which we can take to heart and know that if these things are happening in our life, even Ram told Bharat right there that you should never blame someone else for your lot in life. Whatever situation you find yourself in, it's the result of your past karma, and therefore it's your destiny that you're undergoing. So never look to others with that type of eye, like it's your fault this is happening to me. They may have enmity for you. It doesn't matter. If it's not in your fate, it can't happen to you, period. It doesn't matter how many people want to turn against you. And what creates your fate? Your own past actions. So don't worry about what other people are doing or causing or anything. It's all your own doing. We have three kinds of karma. Prarabdha karma is only one of them. That's our destiny. We also have kriyaman karma and sanchit karma. The kriyaman karma is what we're doing right now with our free will thoughts and words and actions. We're creating new karma. Right now we're adding to our stock of karma. And the huge unlimited stock of karma from all of our uncountable past lives, that's called sanchit karma. That's also an unlimited stock. So we're doing kriyaman karma every second. We have this huge stock of past karma, sanchit karma, looming over us from all of our past lives. And out of that huge stock of sanchit karma, a small part of that is given to us as our prarabdha to undergo in this life. That's our destiny of good and bad luck in this life. We all have to deal with it. So Vashisht ji explained this to Bharat, Ram explained it to Bharat, but nonetheless it was small consolation for Bharat because he felt that because of him in his name, Ram, Sita, and Lakshman are suffering. They're having to live in the jungle. They were exiled from Ayodhya. All the people of Ayodhya are suffering the separation from Ram. So he's taking all of the responsibility on himself, and he's come here to Chitrakoot to meet Sri Ram with the intention of coronating him king, even though his mother did all of this to arrange for him to become the king. He has come with the crown, holy waters from around India, and all the requirements for the Vedic ceremonies to coronate Ram right here in Chitrakoot. So he has no personal desire to rule Ayodhya. That's obvious to everyone. Now they didn't, as we say, get down to business right away. In other words, Bharat didn't immediately start trying to convince Ram of this. Everyone was greeted properly. In fact, similar to how Ram multiplied himself or appeared in many, many forms when he returned to Ayodhya 14 years later, also at this time, when all of the citizens of Ayodhya arrived with Bharat and Shatrughna and Vashisht ji, at that time, Ram met everyone simultaneously. He took as many forms as there were people in this huge party. And according to the feelings in each person's heart, Ram met each person. In other words, if someone had Sakhya Bhav type of love for Ram, then he met them as a friend would meet a friend. If someone had Vatsalya Bhav for him, then he met them considering them to be his own mother or his own father. If someone had Dasya Bhav, he met them as a master would meet their loyal and loving servant. And he met everyone simultaneously. Tulsidas ji says this is no big deal for Ram, meaning it takes no effort for him. Does it take effort for the sun to be seen? Let's say you put out 1,000 pots of water. Is it any extra effort for the sun to have its reflection seen in each of those pots? No, it just happens. Similarly, Ram is already everywhere. So he just manifested himself and met each person individually and simultaneously. He, of course, met his mothers as well. He met Kaikeyi with even more love and affection than he met anyone else. Although Kaikeyi was also feeling bashful at this time and feeling a little hesitant to meet with Ram, but Ram treated her as his most dear devotee. Then in private, he said to Vasishtha ji that, all of these people, they're here in the middle of the jungle. They're going to suffer because they'll be uncomfortable. How will they stay here? Please, I'm requesting you to take them back so that they don't suffer any inconvenience. And Vasishtha ji said, Ram, they've come all this way just to see you. Let them spend a few days and have your darshan. So Ram agreed, and all of Ayodhya is now staying there in Chitrakoot with Ram, Sita, Lakshman, and they spend their days just coming from time to time, having darshan of Ram whenever they could, and then going out and saying, okay, this is where Ram takes his bath in Mandakini River. This is the path down which Sita ji walks. Over here there's a tree they sit under. So the whole day they were wandering around, just visiting all the places that Ram and Sita and Lakshman go to, and drinking from Mandakini and eating whatever, because there are so many tribes living in the jungle, and they would come flowers and berries and roots and bulbs, and they were feeding all the Ayodhya-vasis. So in this way, they spent quite a few days. And during that time, Ram, of course, spent time with everyone who was visiting. Sita ji also served her mother-in-laws who had come, Kaushalya, Kaikeyi, and Sumitra. So she took 3 forms. Sita ji took 3 separate forms and served each mother-in-law simultaneously, spending time with her, making sure she had everything she needed, lavishing attention on her. And only Ram knew the secret that Sita had actually taken 3 forms. Now, after a few days had passed, eventually Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughna, and Vasishtha ji all sat down together and had a council to decide what was going to happen. There was a lot of discussion, and nobody was being forceful, meaning Bharat is not standing up and saying, it must happen in this way, and Ram is not saying, no, I refuse, it must be this way, and Vasishtha ji is not saying, everyone must follow my order. Everyone was just very politely expounding on what their duty would be according to Dham, and they're trying to come to a consensus of what is the right thing to do. And of course, Bharatji very humbly requested Ram that I've brought everything required for your coronation, so I'm asking you, can we please crown you king today? And then you go back to Ayodhya, and I stay here in the forest. Shatrughna and I can stay here in the forest. You go back and rule Ayodhya. Just when the conversation was getting to this point, some messengers come, messengers of King Janak. And they say that King Janak has traveled all the way from Mithila, and he's about to arrive here in your camp at Chitrakoot. So the whole discussion was put on hold. And Janakji arrived, and of course that was a huge event as well. I mean, Sitaji's father has come, and he's come with many attendants and karmacharis, and with Sunaina, Sitaji's mother. So they met him respectfully, had him settled properly and comfortably, and then they talked with him and asked, how did you know to come? So he explained that when he got word what had happened, that Ram was being sent to the forest and Bharat was going to be made king, he sent spies to Ayodhya. And those spies were tasked with ascertaining what Bharatji's true intentions were. And then he would decide how to act from there. So those spies came, observed everything, went back and reported to King Janak that no, Bharat has no evil intentions. He is fully devoted to Ram and Sita. So when King Janak heard this, then he set out from Mithila, and it took him that long to reach to where Sri Ram was, because he also wanted to give support to Ram in this time of change. So what happened next is very interesting. With King Janak, many Brahmins from his court, many learned scholars and saints had accompanied him. And when Bharatji had come from Ayodhya, all the Brahmins, scholars, Pandits, saints from Dasharathji's court had accompanied him. So what happened was, they basically had what we call nowadays a Sant Sammelan. They had a true Sant Sammelan right there in Chitrakoot. All of Janakji's, you can say all the saints in his court, and all of the ones from Dasharathji's court, they, for 4 days, gave discourses on various spiritual topics. And all the people there, all the Ayodhya Vasis, plus all the different tribal forest dwellers, and all the saints from around there, like Atri, sage Atri had an ashram not far from there, and all of their disciples, they all came and listened. So they got to hear spiritual discourses on various topics. And 3 times a day, everyone took a bath, holy bath in Mandakini, and they were all supported, as I mentioned, by the fruits and vegetables and berries that the surrounding population would gather and offer to them. It's interesting that a long time after that, Jagat Guru Shri Kripaluji Maharaj, in 1955, he also organized a Sant Sammelan in Chitrakoot. This was the very first time that Shri Maharajji gave a public speech, actually. Those of you who watch him on the television now, and you see him quoting Sanskrit scriptures with the notation from which chapter and which shlok and which mantra, and speaking in such a scholarly manner, you must think that, oh, he would have been like that for his whole life. But in fact, up until he was 32 years old, which this happened in 1955, he never gave a public speech, actually. He spoke to the satsangis. He would lead satsang. He would mostly lead chanting, or he may, if some devotee is asking a question, then he'll give a lecture to answer that question. But he never gave an organized public discourse until 1955. He had organized a Sant Sammelan in Chitrakoot, and he had invited all the Jagat Gurus. Maharaji wasn't Jagat Guru then. He became Jagat Guru 2 years later. He invited all the Jagat Gurus, all the Mahamandaleshwars, all the great scholars, Pandits and saints of India to come and attend this Sant Sammelan. And he had organized a whole list of topics, which were topics that caused some confusion to people nowadays. And he wanted to bring all these great learned scholars together and have them undo the knot of spiritual confusion with respect to the different forms of God and different paths to God and different scriptures and different religions in the world, to reconcile all of this and make the practical path, spiritual path, clear for common people. So there was a huge crowd that gathered there in Chitrakoot. Anyway, to make a long story short, none of the speakers felt comfortable addressing these questions directly because they didn't really know how to reconcile why there are so many paths described in the scriptures, why different scriptures seem to contradict each other, why different saints seem to contradict each other. So after a few days, the public started to get a little grumpy, you can say. And so all the other speakers had a meeting, and they decided that we'll ask Kripaluji Maharaj to speak on these topics, and we can speak on the topics we normally talk about. So then Shri Maharaji started giving lectures, and in about 10 days, he gave a beautiful reconciliation of all the different religions, paths, forms of God, scriptures. This all happened in Chitrakoot. But here, this was organized by Ram millions of years previously here in Chitrakoot, and all the residents got to hear the beautiful discourses by all the saints from Janakpur and Ayodhya. So eventually they had to discuss the matter at hand, which is what were they going to decide with respect to who's going to be the king of Ayodhya. So Janakji joined the discussion, and of course Vashisht and Ram and his brothers and Vishwamitra had also come. So after much discussion, what it came down to was that Ram was not willing to violate the order he had received from his father. He had to keep his father's word. So although he respected the feelings of everyone else and honored their devotional feelings, but he felt that he had to spend out his time, his 14 years, live out his 14 years here in the forest. So everyone agreed that if this is what Ram wants, then that's what will happen. So Bharatji said, what should I do with all these holy waters that I brought for the coronation? So Vashishtji said, let's ask Atri. He lives here. So the great sage Atri said that there's a well over on the side of this Kamadgiri, this big mountain of Chitrakoot. I had some of my disciples dig a nice, beautiful, deep well, so we would have fresh water to drink. You can go and respectfully keep all those holy waters in there. And from henceforth, this will be known as Bharat. So Bharatji went and he did deposit those waters there, and he also spent 5 days then roaming around Chitrakoot and visiting all the holy places that were holy because Ram has been visiting them. And when he came back, he was very reluctant to leave. Ram, seeing the feelings in his heart, took his charan paduka, his wooden sandals, like what we have here, and he gave those to Bharat. And Bharat took them like Ram had given his own self to him. And when he returned to Ayodhya, of course, he installed those charan paduka on the throne. He never sat on King Dasharath's throne. He put Ram's paduka there. He said when Ram comes back after 14 years, he can sit there on the throne. And he met with Shatrughna and he said, now it's your duty to take care of our parents. And he met with all his ministers and gave them proper instructions. And he took permission from Sage Vashisht and said, I plan to go and live in Nandigram now. So he went and he built himself a hut, just like the hut Ram was living in, made out of grass and leaves. And he slept on the ground, just on some bundled grass, and ate the same food that Ram would be eating. He never ate anything prepared or cooked. He just ate the raw food that could be gathered from the forest. And he lived like that the whole 14 years. He still dispatched his duties as the ruler of Ayodhya, but he never sat on the throne. He never enjoyed any royal luxuries. And he never called himself as the king. He always referred to the Charan Padaka whenever they talked of the ruler of Ayodhya. So in this way, the great part of Ayodhya Kand is about Bharatji's devotion, dedication, and selflessness towards Sri Ram. So that concludes the second Kand, the Ayodhya Kand. The Aranya Kand, Aranya means the forest. Aranya Kand begins now that the separation between Ram and Ayodhya is complete. Everyone has gone back. King Janak has gone back. All the Ayodhya Vasis have gone back. It took them 4 days, by the way, to reach Ayodhya from Chitrakoot. They went to, through Prayag, through Shringberpur, and eventually reached Ayodhya. King Janak spent another 4 days in Ayodhya helping Bharat set up the whole administration. Then Janakji also returned to Mithila. And now Sita, Ram, and Lakshman are there in Chitrakoot. Ram realized after some time that now people have come to know that he's here. So more and more people are going to start coming. And this is going to disturb the munis and rishis who are living here in this remote jungle. So I should probably move on. So he didn't stay in Chitrakoot for very long. He went to the ashram of the sage Atri. From there, he visited another great sage in Sharbhanga ashram, Sharbhanga Muni. He went on, he visited many ashrams of many saints. There was one named Sutikshna Maharaj. Sutikshna Maharaj was such a great devotee of Ram that when one of his disciples told him, Ram is coming, he basically started running around like a crazy person. Running this way, stopping, running back that way. It's not like he even had the sense to say, Ram is coming, get this ready, prepare this, prepare that. No, he was so excited. Dishi Aruvi Dishi. He didn't know which way, that way. Pantha nahi sujha, ko main chalau kaha nahi bujha. He didn't even know who am I, let alone what way should I run, which way is this, which way is that, which way should I go. He was so excited. And when Ram came and he saw Ram, he became totally still. He was sitting and completely still, all of his hairs on end, no breathing, just like a stone. And Ram was trying to arouse him, wake him up by many different ways, but he couldn't. He was so drowned in the bliss of Sri Ram. So in this way, Ram visited many saints, and Sutikshna Maharaj took him to his Guruji, the sage Agastya. So when he went to the great sage Agastya's ashram, he asked him that, I left Chitrakoot, and along the way, I saw a pile of bones. And I asked the sages who were around that, what are all these bones? And they told me that the demons have been killing so many rishis and munis and sages, and this is the pile of their bones. So at that time, Ram had raised his arms and said, I am going to kill all the demons. He made a promise. So he asked the sage Agastya, what should I do and where should I go to accomplish this task, which I've promised that I will do? So Agastya said, there's a place, if you keep going towards the west, there's a place called Dandak Forest. And in Dandak Forest, there's the Godavari River. And next to the Godavari River, there's a place where there are 5 beautiful banyan trees. It's called Panchavati. Vat is the banyan tree, Panch is 5. So in Panchavati, you should go there, set up your residence, and from there, some things will happen that will enable you to destroy all the demons. So Ram was very happy and he set out. One of the ashrams that he came upon in the Dandak forest had some sages who had been worshipping Ram for years and years and years. And their Guruji had told them that Ram is going to be coming. You're going to get the darshan of your beloved Ram. And when Ram entered the ashram, all of them had a desire to run up and embrace Ram. But Ram said to them, I am right now in this Maryada Purushottam form. So I cannot express the divine bliss. I cannot give you the divine bliss in that way, that freely. But Krishna avatare yuyam gopika bhutva mama lingath. When I come again as Krishna, then you can come as gopis, and at that time you can have that type of relationship.